So welcome everybody. Today is a very special day. This is the Bronze Award certification ceremony because this awesome school, drum roll, have worked their socks off and have sent us the most amazing evidence of what you've been doing. And I'm going to hand over to you, Rose, and you can introduce all of the team, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions before we go on.
Perfect, thank you. So in the room here with me, I have Lauren and Jenny. And Jenny and Lauren are gap year students who have decided to volunteer with us in the climate action team at school for their year out, which is amazing. And they've been doing loads of the hard work behind the scenes. And they've just come out of a meeting with the younger students to be in the room with us today. Mr. Bain hopefully will be with us in a moment, and I will let Gary introduce himself.
Very good. Am I on mute? For once, I'm not. Very good. Okay, so I'm Gary Lewis. I'm Chief Executive of the Trust. Long superannuated Chew Valley staff as well. And really looking forward to hearing a bit about what's been going on with the Bronze Award.
We are very proud of them, Gary. When I looked at the documents the other day, because I was saving them over, and that's why I emailed earlier today, I just thought, wow, the feedback, the fact that you actually asked all of the staff for feedback on your inset training. Well, you've taught us a trick or two,
Yep.
Because I think that's something that, Deb and I have been looking at to say, okay, well, we'd like to include that as evidence, because that shows us what we're working on now is building like a baseline assessment, so that before schools start with the bronze, they do like a little, I don't know, we have like a breakout room, we have a sort of session, I don't know, group building session, team session, and then we ask, what do you think about climate change? How do you feel about it? What is your knowledge base? Where are you at? What is your confidence level? So what you were showing us after your inset training was just, I was reading through it, and I'm not going to share it on screen, and I still asked you in the email, I said, can we share that on our new website, because it's just fantastic.
Of course, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, as the lead from this group, you were the nominated lead, you were the sustainability and climate literacy lead nominated. So, and then you've had your team members supporting you. How important was it for you to have that support team shoring things up?
The team of the 5?
Yes.
So I don't feel like I made as much use of them as I could have done. I probably relied on these guys more, because Jenny and Lauren come and work with me several times a week. And the 2 of them were in my department anyway, so they were really helpful. But if I'm honest, a load of the work that we've done has been driven by our climate action team, which is the students. So a couple of the teachers that, they did all of that training, and it's made them feel more confident with the way they talk to young people. But in all reality, I think most of the work came from the students, in fact.
That's very interesting. That's the feedback that we are getting from what we've seen with COP26. It was COP26 was education, was just throughout, was all of it. And we've been, one of our academic education advisors is a lady called Christina Cork, and her research is all about the student voice, giving the students, because they want to know what to do, but they need allies. So when we started Educate Global in 2018, we came up with the idea of the climate change teacher course. Boy, was I wrong. I thought we only needed 1 in every school, but it's most certainly that leadership team. You are going to be shifting up to do the Silver Award next after this. Okay. But we'd love for you, how many schools are there in your trust, Gary?
Well, 24 today, 25th
Yes.
was given permission on Monday.
Yes.
And we've probably got a few more joining during the year, so we're heading in towards 30.
Yeah, so Chew, you are, Rose, you and your team, you are an exemplar for us, because we either call you an exemplar school or a lighthouse school, because you've paved the way, and you've written sort of the book on how you've done it. as you've said, you could have used your team, your support team more.
Yeah.
Do you feel now that you've done this training and you've delivered the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge, do you feel that the whole staff have a better, the confidence level has improved in being able to communicate about climate change?
Absolutely. The training that they did, the feedback from that was really positive, as you saw. I think we've only done 2 Carbon Buster challenges, but even though we finished, we plan to carry on because it's been a nice model and kids are getting really involved, and so are members of staff. So I think kind of drip feeding that throughout the year will continue to help staff feel more confident, and hopefully that will continue, especially if we go up to the, sorry, yes, when we go up to the silver. Yeah.
Okay. What's interesting is the other thing is building in the actual carbon footprint into each of the challenges. That's what Deb and I are looking at now.
Yeah.
We had some figures the other day. We did because when you do silver, your leadership team will do the carbon literacy teacher training. And then we expect for you to be certified, and you would then be train the trainers. You would then train all the staff in your school, up to 50, and then to be certified, put them forward so that everybody has that carbon literacy training. That's like your next level. You've now done the foundations and you have that good footing. You've done your 2 Carbon Footprint Buster challenges. Great that you're going to be carrying on. But we would love to work with you and your team to start building in those carbon footprint measures so that we can see if less, one of our schools in Yorkshire, the 300 children were throwing away. They were weighing the food waste at every meal time and logging it. And they found that they were throwing away 5 tons of food a year. So we worked that out to just over 37 kilos of carbon per child.
Per student, wow. Yeah.
So if we could bring that down. And then the other thing that we noticed was the energy savings. You know, with your energy, you sent us the evidence. You had, was it 37 families?
Yeah.
So 37. So those are the ones that came back with.
Yeah.
37 families shifting over to green energy. That if you did that in 25 schools, Deb worked it out the other day, you were looking at a couple of thousands of tons of carbon being emitted.
Yeah.
So it all starts adding up.
At the moment, this is really nice timing actually, because Gary and I have been working on this project target for our trust to go carbon neutral by 2035, which is
generous of you to say, Rose, that I've been working
on. Gary, when I had the meeting with Louise the other day regarding that was one thing that wasn't discussed, was the home influence and carbon. So if we're taking that into account as well, I mean, that's potentially.
So, I'm sorry I didn't attend that meeting. I got something else that just kept me out. I did hear about it from Louise, and I think, I can see a third track. I heard from your meeting, we identified that there's organizational top-down things that we can do around structures. So, for example, the trust can prioritize removing all carbon wasting light fittings to move to LEDs. Yes. That's something which people don't buy into. It just happens. Okay, so that's a management decision. And then there's another strand, isn't there, around cultural behaviour in our schools, which is much more complicated, but is a very significant challenge for us. So looking at single-use plastics and those sorts of things. There's things, the top-down things are conversation with our catering contractors, but the bottom-up things are what people are bringing into school. So it's changing behaviours. And then yes, the third one, working with families. I'm nervous about that, I'll admit. Because I was at Chew Valley whenever Jamie Oliver did the big campaign on school dinners. And I don't know, Rose, if you were a witness to me getting involved in the packed lunch wars.
I don't remember that, Gary.
So we had. I remember one glorious letter describing me as the Stasi inspecting children's packed lunches for chocolate bars.
Okay.
So I can see how we'll have to be careful that it's
Yes.
one of education and persuasion, rather than the school towering over the over families and trying to share.
I think I like the format of the Carbon Buster Challenge because they're very achievable, they're very positive, they're all about what you can do, not about telling people off for doing the wrong thing. So I feel like those two things could be married together quite nicely, actually, to use those as a structure.
And if we built in, if we started doing so, I wonder if we could look. We were saying we need to look for some funding. Yesterday we were having a chat with Christina Quark and saying we need to look for some funding so that we can work with maybe a university, do some research with a group of schools to put some sort of a carbon calculator into the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge, do a baseline assessment for each one, maybe send like a form out and say, what are you doing here? And then measuring with the children, working out what their carbon, how have they brought that carbon, that
Rose,
footprint down.
Are you involved with Celia Tidmarsh at University of Bristol on her climate educators group?
No, you're going to connect me.
Okay, so you know, I don't know how far that's got, but the University of Bristol has been wanting to reach out to our schools to work. I think that's particularly looking at teachers as educators around climate themes, perhaps more.
Yeah, she's been in touch. Liz, my other colleague in my department now, she's been taking that one on mainly because I'm kind of working alongside, but she's leading that one.
Okay, please connect us. We'd love to have a chat. Because I think there's just so that, you know, that intersection that Deb keeps talking about. She says it's about your knowledge, but it's about you and your team becoming allies, confident allies, and then that you are confident in teaching climate literacy as well as carbon literacy. What we've been working on is with Professor Susan Crumdyke. We are building something called transition engineering. So Susan came up with this 30 years ago. She's been running it in Christchurch University in New Zealand, and she's now been poached. She's the New Ireland's New Deal for all of Scotland, and she's been poached by Heriot-Watt University to transition all of Heriot-Watt University towards transition engineering. So this was the university that provided all of the workers for the fossil fuel industry, and they are going to be working towards the transition, which is pretty cool. And we've just started building transition engineering in the kitchen lab for little ones, 3 to 11, and then another one from 11 to 13. Then we've got transition engineering stories. So it's like a STEM-based, really interesting. And then we're busy working on the build and the preparation of a pathway to higher education in transition engineering, which would be certified like a micro-credential from Heriot-Watt University. We know that this is where there's the jobs are there, but there's not many people to take that know this. I mean, I think there's about 200 transition engineers in the world, and with the IET's figures, we need about 10 million of them yesterday. So I'd love for nothing more than for your schools to be transition engineering hubs that, you know, that are pushing through those green skills. You don't have to do engineering. You don't have to be an engineer to do transition engineering. You can go and do transformative leadership. You can do sustainability, but to have those basics, you've got to read the book. It's the best textbook ever. Transition Engineering, Susan Crumdyke. I will send you the link. It is awesome. It is. It's going to be a game changer. And when you see the way that she set out the structure of, so it's 130 hours. It's like a year 10, year 11. It is mind-blowing. So it's very exciting. But again, you cannot deliver something like that unless you are confident and you're trained.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about ensuring that you and your team, and then those that build up when you move up to silver, that your foundations are solid. So you've basically done your climate change teacher course. You're now moving up, you'll do your carbon literacy teacher training, and then after that you'll do your transition engineering teacher training with Susan, and then you'll be delivering all the other juicy bits and pieces that we've been working on. I wanted to, before we go, how difficult was it for you to deliver your inset training? Was it a doddle, or was it something, because I saw that you just got everybody to do it online?
Yes, so I watched the video that you had created.
Yes.
And I got the narrative from that, and I transformed it into my own version and filmed myself. And that was because of COVID and because we couldn't meet in a large space. And that was the easiest way of making sure that everyone had access to it. So yeah, it was fine once I'd done that. I think getting my head around it initially, watching it and turning it into my own version, because it was a primary school version, and that took time, but I think that was really useful for me to spend that time, because it embedded it more.
I hope you recorded it.
Yeah, I've got a copy. I can send it.
I'd love to have a look at it. I'd love to watch it.
Okay.
So I know that Dr. Ben King at Churston Ferris, he sent me his the other day, and I said, that is wild. You know, why did you add this? Why did you add that?
Yeah, I can do that.
There was something else I wanted to ask you. With you did your carbon footprint buster challenge. Did you find that you chose, did you choose challenges, or did you do them in the correct order? Did you do them in 1, 2?
I'm going to pass that over to the girls because they organised that.
Okay, right. So give us a little bit more of the goss.
Yeah, well, so we did the first one first, because that was the single change that made the biggest difference to the carbon footprint. And we thought, we had an assembly that we ran with that, so we thought that one would have the biggest uptake. So that made sense to do that one. And then for the second one, I think we chose the third challenge, maybe.
Yeah.
I think because we looked at the second challenge, we looked at all the challenges, and I think we thought that one would be partly slightly easier to do, and partly wouldn't require. We only had a very short slot in tutor to tell people about that one. So we only had, I think, 2 slides to explain. So we decided that one was the easiest to explain in 2 slides.
We could also access a lot of information on how to help people with that task. So I think it was talking about vegetarianism and stuff. So we could provide recipes that families could use to maybe substitute out some of the meat. So it was quite easy to inform people about that on that specific task.
And although we didn't have everyone in the school telling me about a vegetarian meal, I know that it's just in everyone's consciousness so much more. Everyone's talking to me about it all the time, sending me loads of lovely photos of their dinner, which my email box is full of.
I wanted to ask you both, what do you want to do in this field? Is this what you want to do? You want to be teachers, or do you want to move into the sustainability sector?
For me, I want to study geography and then move into the sustainability sector. Maybe either in media or through environmental consulting or something like that. So yeah, essentially.
So transition engineering and transformative leadership is for you, really. And would you like to go into this? Are you going to be a teacher? What would you like to do?
Well, I'm studying politics, philosophy, and economics at university.
Okay.
So then possibly thinking about going into the government in one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jenny, you're going to bring shame on the family if you say that.
No, you're not. That's terrible. You mustn't say that. Do you know that we saw a job? I was looking through civil service job specs the other day, and I saw an amazing job with the Maritime Agency in Southampton and the government, and it was to help the entire maritime agency transition, achieve their net zero goals. And I looked at it and I thought, oh my goodness, this is transition engineering. I'll send you a copy. I took some screenshots of it and I made some notes. And then I contacted them and I said, you must have been overwhelmed with people applying for that. And the gentleman said, not one person applied. And I was shocked. And then I realized when I looked at the job spec, I thought, okay, I think it's because it seems a bit daunting, but this is actually doable. Absolutely anybody can sort of segue into this or from this out. You could, honestly, you don't have to be an engineer. it's just the name is transition engineering. It just helps you to have that idea, but you could still study politics, sociology, everything, and still be a transition engineer and work for government, helping them to transition entire, I mean, can you imagine transitioning the entire maritime agency to net zero? That is just, and to be able to say that, that would be the best ever.
It may
Rose,
sound a bit too much like transformation, Melanie, which in HR terms means sacking people, doesn't it?
no, it doesn't. No, don't be like that, Gary. I think that this is going to create. Did you see that Rishi Sunak put out that thing just during COP, that every financial institution is going to be reporting their net zero? They're going to be, so that will be a transition engineering job. So it'll be individuals that are either in financial tech at the moment that will transfer across and then do some training, or they will go and study sort of sustainability at sort of Nottingham Trent.
Well,
or
we already have significant reporting responsibilities with carbon.
Yes.
I'm sure you're well aware of
Yes.
Well aware of that, but they're all too easy to meet currently, because your energy provider clicks it out and no one particularly engages with the outcomes. What we're talking about with this project is actually real change that
Yes.
makes a difference to what we do.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, our students are talking to our business breakfast next Thursday. Jenny and Lauren, are either of you involved in that? So we've got business leaders from across the area going to Backwell School, and the whole themes on carbon reduction. We've got the Chief Comms Officer for EDF coming to talk about what their message is on that, and then we're aligning it with the beginning of the project. And we're hoping that we can strong arm some of our business partners into funding a COP summit for us to work across our schools, but also with some of our partners to identify how we actually make practical some of these ambitions that we've got in short order. Because you know, if we've taken one thing from Glasgow, tomorrow's too late. You know, it's getting stuff happening. PDQ.
It is. It is. I'm very, very pleased. I'm so proud. I'm going to ask you one last favor. I'd love for you to take a photograph of yourselves holding your certificate in front. There's your certificates in front of the school. Make sure the school is in the background with Gary, with your head, and send me nice landscape photos. And I'll send you a draft press release.
Yep.
And let's get that into your local paper, because I think it would be such a great story for them.
You know what, Mel, we're actually planting 100 trees next Friday, and we've got the Mendip Times coming to take photos, so we could maybe combine that.
Have your certificates there. You are the first Bronze Award school in your trust, which is amazing.
Melanie, the Mendip Times is very like the New York Times, but not quite as big. So it's
exciting. It's exciting publication.
I tell you what, any news is great news, because it starts. People don't realize the power of local press.
Rose, I'm in school on Tuesday morning. It'd be really good if we can catch up then. It'd be nice to hear a little bit more, and we can do that ahead of our breakfast on Thursday.
Yeah. And if you want to invite Deb and I, we would love to join you. So if it's online.
Well,
the breakfast, do you mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll have to have my breakfast here.
What's all you, Melanie?
I'm in Hitchin in Hertfordshire.
Well, if you fancy coming to talk to one of our breakfasts,
I'd love to.
Right. Okay. I'm going to put you on my little list.
I'd love to. How far is it?
We're just south of Bristol.
Well, then I'll have to drive. I'll have to get the train, because I'm right outside Hitchin Station. I'll get the train down.
I think that would be an overnighter. Otherwise, you'd have to be very early to be at one of our schools, or maybe you can join something virtually.
I'd love to. I mean, I'm always open to a Zoom or Teams but if it's gonna have a big impact, I'd love to come down.
Maybe if we get our COP together across our schools, it'd be good to talk again.
Yes, and I'll send you some information. I'll send you the link to, if you go and have a look at Claire Robinson on LinkedIn, She's the head teacher of Home Grange School, and they've just run their own COP with the students. So if you want any so Claire's school, she's done bronze, silver and gold, and her school have been piloting something with called Radical Renewal with Professor Henry Mintzberg and ourselves, so that we start developing the transformative leadership thought processes. So but I'll share more of that with you at our business breakfast or something like that. So, okay, or when we get together next time. I'd love for all of the trusts. We've got the this week we've got the Girls' Day School Trust joining us, and that is pretty exciting. So we've got 25 schools there. So and so it's starting to, and we've Hammersmith and Fulham Borough Council, they funded all 49 of their schools to do the bronze and the silver award. And we're in talks with the Scottish government to, I mustn't say that, I'm gonna have to edit this out, to look at potentially delivering transition engineering as part of the awards to all the Scottish schools. So whoever is first, it's great, because the transition engineer, you've got to meet Professor Susan Crumdyke. She's inspirational. She is just, I was working through her book again this weekend, and I thought, this lady is just, the kids are just going to love it. When you see this work, you're just going to love it. So exciting.
Rose, I hope you're going to forgive me. Such is the glamour of my life. I have to be on the gate at Portbury Church of England Primary School in
of course
30 minutes.
Gary, thank you for joining us. It's really, I mean, we've gone over our time.
Yeah, I'm Rose, Lauren and Jenny, really pleased that you've acted as a lighthouse on this one, to use Melanie's.
On behalf of Lighthouse.
Amazing.
So we'll have to see where else we can get this award running. I'm sure it'll be a really good.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you actually, Mel, about this next award, the silver. I feel like we do have a few barriers that we need to overcome.
Okay. Bye-bye, Gary. Lovely. I'll speak to you soon. We'll be in touch very, very soon.
Thanks, Gary.
What would the barriers be?
Pardon?
What would the barriers be?
Financial and staffing. So financial, obviously, how much is it to get on that?
£500.
Okay, 500. So I'm going to have a meeting with our head next week. I'm really sad he wasn't able to come on to the call, but I'm going to see him next week. The second thing is it's 19 members of staff, isn't it?
Okay, so that is what we recommend.
Right, okay.
You don't have to do that. What I will do, Rose, is I will forward you the step-by-step outline for silver.
Okay.
So we say, if you want to, you can build up to 3 more leadership teams, up to you. If you don't, your existing leadership team, 6 of you, do the carbon literacy teacher training.
Yeah.
Now, that is 4 weeks, 2 hours a week.
Okay.
So we would say, let's do it on a Friday, and it's live on Zoom, and then we have breakout rooms so that we have groups, and we should be a couple of schools doing that together. So there's a nice group of us. We've got facilitators, and then we deliver that to you. So it's 2 hours a week. And then at the end of it, you do a report. You have to fill in a form, and then that we send off to the Carbon Literacy Project. They mark it, and they give you the Carbon Literacy Training Certificate. And then once they give that to you, and you've got the all clear there, we give you the Educate Global Carbon Literacy Teacher Certificate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And once you've done that, let me show you. I'll share my screen with you ever so quickly. So this is our new. You've been onboarded onto all of this, Rose. You're on the new. Are you on the new learning portal?
No.
Rose, what I need to do? Can you email me just your list? Has anybody changed on the list?
No.
Okay.
What's the time frame of being able to achieve the silver?
Silver, you can do between. We say that you easily do it within 4 months.
Okay, so we could do it within this academic year.
Yes.
Okay.
So you still, because you've paid for bronze, you still have access to bronze. So
Oh, you
everything.
paid for us, actually. Do you
Oh
remember?
yeah, okay, I sponsored you.
Yeah.
Okay, so because you've been sponsored to have bronze, you still have access to bronze.
Mhm.
There is transition engineering wasn't there. We're busy building that. That is what bronze schools can choose, the carbon footprint buster challenge, or they choose transition engineering in the kitchen lab. Now, when you move up to silver, let me just take you there. That is carbon literacy. This is where we do the carbon literacy training. We give you access to the En-ROADS training there. You honestly don't need it there. It's just for if you and your students want it later on. There is an hour of En-ROADS training in there. And we include, this will answer Gary's pushback question. We include a free course in there, identifying and countering misinformation about climate science. And I think some of your students would absolutely love that, because that's Professor John Cook from George Mason, and he guides you through the language, and he shows you, how to make your science sticky. Love it. We've got climate change games, and then you as a school, how many kids in the school?
About 1,150.
Okay, and would you be interested in biology? Because we've got Wild Planet Explorers Kids, or you could choose Get Media Savvy. This is a 5-week program where Hannah Jane, she was my daughter, 12 years old, and she guides your pupils through how to write a press release.
Amazing.
And she shows you 4 case studies of how she got onto the cover of the Evening Standard, got herself on, and how to go about making sure that, that you get those newspaper articles. So it's how to write a press release, but it's also how to position yourself and how to connect with the press.
Brilliant.
Okay, so you could choose that I don't know what, maybe you've got, you can use that in media studies. But so in silver, you choose, but
I mean, that's what would be great, wouldn't it, if we could build a new team that incorporated biologists and media department and the technology department, and had someone from each. My other barrier that I know will come up against is teacher workload is just so excessive at the moment that no one's got an inch to which to move, So if I'm saying I need you to do more, I'm gonna really struggle, and obviously.
So if you had your main team and your main team did the carbon literacy teacher training, and then your other teachers, you could at least ask them to just do one of the UN courses. Just one. And then that way, and they could choose, you could say, well, you do children, you do cities, you do gender, you do health, you do sustainable diet, you do introduction. And then that way you have it sort of spread. What one of the other schools is suggesting, that they've done bronze, but they lost about 4 members of their team have moved. So they want to do silver, but they're saying, we've done all this work in bronze, and now we're going to be moving up, but we've lost 4 of our members. So I said to them, well, your 4 members, your newbies, are going to have to do bronze again effectively, but be strategic. So they said, well, what they were going to do is they're going to book a day, and that entire group, we're going to do 2 or 3 courses in one day at school.
That's a good idea.
So you could do that. You could maybe have do you have CPD days?
Yeah, we do. We have 5 inset days.
Who's that? That's somebody trying to get hold of me. Let's decline that. Okay.
We have 5 inset days a year. It's just at the moment, Mel, I am a geography teacher. I have a literacy and numeracy post, but apart from that, I don't have a TLR other than that. So you could describe it in an old-fashioned way as being quite low down the pecking order. So to get the school really on board behind me, I feel like there needs to be time and finance available. And this thing that's happening at the moment with us going carbon neutral by 2035, I feel like hopefully there's leverage in there, because there's so much work we can do I just don't feel like I've got the resources to make it happen yet.
So let's get
That's why I'm disappointed.
draft. It's your draft press release. If you can get, if we can get you generate some good local press, ladies, that's the kicker.
And that's where we've got our funding, hopefully, to pay for this.
And then maybe you could have a cake sale, or have a mufti day.
Yeah, in fact, we are working on fundraising at the moment, so we could jump this up to the top. We're trying to buy loads of equipment for the school. So, for example, we're trying to raise money to buy a plastic recycling machine for the technology department, so they can reuse the plastic waste. And each department has got different requests. So yeah, we can just bump this up, can't we?
Okay. Yeah. Or have a second-hand clothes rail,
which we've done that too.
Done that.
Amazing. Yeah, we've got the team's got
next week, or we got that.
Who are we doing that with? Sixth form are doing that next week. We've got loads going on. So yeah, we just need to kind of nail down some money now, I think.
Okay. I'm quite sure that you need to let them know that carbon literacy training, Glasgow University charges £799 per person to do it. And there would be 6 of you doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
And you would be getting a scheme of work for £500.
Yeah.
We are a not-for-profit organisation.
Oh no, I am not trying to get anything from you at all. I'm just asking for advice because I know.
I know. Maybe in your press release we could put a line that we're reaching out to local businesses. One of our schools in Derbyshire, she goes around all the local businesses and she says, look, we need money, we need this, we want to do this, we're in the newspaper, or we're going to be in the local newspaper, would you sponsor our school to do this award?
Yeah,
so I think
we need to do that. Yeah,
just knock on doors, go from door to door to door, say, would you sponsor our school to do, this is how much it's going to cost, and we want to cover like a staff training day, so as well, and you could quite easily get your entire staff, or at least your new leadership team, or get more leaders to do your UN courses, do 1 or 2 of your UN courses. But the most important one is doing your carbon literacy teacher training.
Okay.
That is a game changer. When I did it, I was looking for the next level up. I was searching for, where do I go once I've got the basics? Because the UN courses are great, but they are mitigation and adaptation. And that should have been taught 30 years ago. We know the transition and transformation is where we need to be. And we know that who is preparing us for those jobs? Who's preparing us to take on those leadership roles? So I went and did that training. And when I finished it, I just said, this is amazing. This has got to be for my teachers. And we're busy building the new website. I'll send you the link as soon as I'm done with it. And you can then send that around to the management of the school and the trust.
Okay.
And maybe share it with local businesses and say, this is what we want to do. This school, there's all of their testimonials. Could you fund us? Could you sponsor us to do this?
Okay. We'll get on that. We'll do it. So Mel, you want me to send
photographs, landscape photographs, big smiles, hold those certificates and say, we need help. We want to carry on. We've just scratched the surface.
Okay.
If you, with the amount of students you have, if you've transferred just 37 or 38 families over to green energy, and if you can do that to more than maybe 2/3 of your families, wow, that's a story.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a story. That is, and if we can, maybe we need to look for some research funding. Look for research funding that can cover what you're doing with us, and then we can start building those carbon footprint, those measures in with what we're doing, and maybe doing some baseline assessments and follow-on assessments and seeing what can we add to this, what's missing, how can we build this further.
Okay. Amazing. So you want me to send you my video?
Yes.
I'll also send you, did you want me to put you in touch with Celia Tidmarsh? She's the University of Bristol
Yes, please.
lady.
And copy Gary in for me, because you and I are going to go to that business breakfast and we're going to go and ask them for some money.
Yeah, Perfect.
Okay.
Well, they'll be going next week. Can you make it next week?
Yeah.
What, in person or
Well,
online?
I can do it online. If
Yeah.
you ladies are up for asking them for money at the business breakfast, let's do it.
We'll see. Yeah, we've got a meeting about that on Monday.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
do
fine
it.
with the other students.
Let's
We'll
go
put
for
you
it.
in touch with Gary, and then he can see if that's going to be possible to add, because I know they're going in person. I don't think I'm even going. I'm teaching, but they're going. And yeah, if they can do an online element with you popping along, that would be amazing. It's an early start, 7:15.
Let me know. I'm up here. I don't sleep much.
Okay.
If you can show those businesses what you've achieved, that just by doing that carbon footprint buster challenge, and you've got the evidence that just 38 have come back, and maybe you can even do a quick split poll around the school, how many families have shifted over, and how you feel that if that's your starting point, you could be delivering change on a massive scale.